Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back to another Playmates review. I cannot believe I am saying this in 2024, but here we are. Today, we're going to be reviewing yet again another of the MonsterVerse figures. Last time we just did the City Destruction Godzilla. And today, we'll be doing another older figure. This is Ferocious Kong with Helicopter and Chain Propeller from the second MonsterVerse movie, Kong Skull Island. So this is a much younger Kong, not the Kong you know from Godzilla vs. Kong. Let's take a look at this figure and let's see if this younger Kong is any better than the older Kongs that we have now. Ferocious Kong with Helicopter and Chain Propeller. I've had this figure for quite a while, of course. I had a couple of these figures quite a while, as I did with my announcement video of me returning to Playmates toys. This is a particularly special one because I guess that he has his little, like a little submarine propeller, which he uses to battle the skull crawler with. There's also a chopper, some battle damage, you know, as per usual, the usual Playmate stuff. And I have set this for the burning or the city destruction Godzilla, and I want to say it here as well, that I very, very, very much appreciate the new packaging that Playmates is going for the new figures. Like, the packaging looks spectacular here. It looks really, really good. I love how you just have MonsterVerse here, and in the background you have some of the heads of the MonsterVerse there about to clash it out. Like, it just looks really, really good. So, back of the packaging, what do we got? So we have this quote: "The monsters of ancient myths and legends are real and battle for dominance across the world. Humanity's efforts to coexist with these titanic forces of nature is led by Monarch, a highly equipped organization of the bravest scientists, adventurers, and military specialists in the world. Now humanity enters a brave new era of discovery filled with unknown dangers." Oh yeah, brilliant. We have a little photo of Kong back here, as well as the battle damage reveal. And here's his description. The Ferocious Kong with Helicopter and Chain Propeller. The mighty Kong rules the Skull Island Kingdom with primal strength, unleashing a bone-crushing barrage of seismic punches and a deafening alpha-roaring combat. Able to improvise and wield weapons, Kong swings a massive ship propeller chain whip to tear through the super species that dare to threaten his reign. Well, specifically skull crawlers, I guess, because that's what happens. So here's the side, here's the other side, here's the bottom if you want all that information. But now it is time for the fun part, which is of course unboxing. Let's take this Kong out of its box. This is your average Kong figure. Let me just get that right off the get-go. This is a bit different from the Kongs from the Godzilla vs. Kong stuff. And I can kind of prove that because I have some of them. As you can see, here's the, I think it's just Kong with fighter jet. I think that's what the original figure was called. I don't have the packaging anymore. So I just have the figure. And see that the younger Kong is ironically taller than old Kong, and his head is also a lot smaller. So I'm not sure if there was a new mold Playmates used here to create the figure. Like, what entirely happened here, I don't know. I frankly don't know what they did, but I don't think it was for the better. I can tell you right now, I much prefer the Godzilla vs. Kong one, and I guess we'll see when the new one comes in. I guess we'll see if that one is better. But in a strict comparison between these two, I would say the new one, not the greatest. But you will notice something. The mold is pretty much the same in terms of articulation. I don't think it's the exact identical mold, otherwise the heads would be the same size. Articulation. You can move the arm, you can move the shoulder, elbow, move that all the way out. Then you can move the wrist a bit. And as you can see, the propeller chain I'm just loosely attached onto here. There's nothing secure about it. It's very flimsy, but that's okay because you don't want him to be carrying that most of the time. And especially with the Godzilla vs. Kong one, when he's holding the battle axe, it's also very loose as well. So I guess that is good in a sense, because if you attach it too tightly, then you have to remove it. Then you can very well risk breaking the chain potentially, and then, you know, it's just not fun. You will end up with a broken accessory. Other bits of articulation, you can also move the same thing on the left arm here. Elbow as well, and get the wrist going. And then the legs, similar articulation going on down. You can move the legs pretty well. You can move the knee, and then of course you can swivel the feet side to side. And there's no waist articulation, unfortunately. And then as for the head, is there head articulation? Yes, there is. Not 360, but just about that. You can move it side to side, just like that. Pretty straightforward. So it's your basic articulation, the same, I guess, default set of articulations for Kong in general. I don't think looks better than the older Kongs. It's a bit more ferocious, and I guess that's the name of the figure. There's also about this color scheme that doesn't sit well for me, because this Kong in that movie from that timeline, he is brown. His fur is brown. Why is it all gray? Why is it all light gray? Even when he's fighting the Skullcrawler in broad daylight, you can see the brown fur as clear as that daylight itself. So why did Playmates go ahead and make this a gray with a bit of white at the bottom too? As you can see, there's a shade of white near the feet. And you know what this reminds me of? Another Kong that they made from the Godzilla vs. Kong line, the Arctic Kong. The Arctic Kong makes sense because he is actually in Antarctica. Sorry, not Arctic. He was in Antarctica and he was covered in snow. So that's why there's white dustings all over the figure. So that made sense. Why did they do it here? What's the point? What's the point of the white shade? It just doesn't make any sense. So I think the color scheme just was not smart. The articulation is great. There's great playability, and I guess that's something they've nailed pretty well with Kong in general. But the appearance is just not it. The colors ain't it. If you're gonna make a more accurate Kong, please stick with the brown fur. Why make it gray? And I'm sorry, the face, it looks ferocious, I can tell you that. But you compare it to a face like his, it's obviously mean. It gives that mean look, but I think my entire opinion of this figure would change had they make this brown fur. However, I will not always critique it. There are some good things about it. For example, the propeller chain here. It's a very, very neat piece of accessory. He uses this anyways to battle the giant Skullcrawler, so I will happily take it. Articulation is also very good, and also just playability. This figure is really there for the playability. I do have to remember, this is a children's toy after all. But in the end, even a children's toy can at least be movie accurate. It doesn't even need to look detailed. That's for the fancy stuff. But at least make it look accurate then, at least. If a kid is trying to recreate a fight scene from the movies, there you go. They can kind of have an accurate figure to recreate with. Now, as you can see, the battle damage itself, a little piece of skin here that goes over the top. I'm honestly not really a big fan of the battle damages, but it adds a cool playability, so I can respect it. Even though I'm not entirely supporting it, I can respect them for having a little bit of a play feature there. But then again, there's enough articulation here to really play with this figure. I think they've done all they can, and you know, frankly speaking, they've done a pretty good job with Kong in general. Just this one, I honestly think this one is not a good one. If there's any Kongs I would recommend, I feel like I would put this one at the bottom of the list and just go with the Kongs that they're coming out with from Godzilla vs. Kong, and also with the new movie coming. They are most likely going to have a 6-inch Kong, so there you go. You should probably get to that one. I mean, there is one who is wearing the Beast Glove. So maybe save your money for that one instead of getting this one. But if you do see this in the store, I wouldn't be opposed to you getting it, because it's not bad. It's not bad. But if you really want an authentic King Kong figure that is accurate to Kong Skull Island, this one may have just missed the spot just a bit. Just a bit. But out of 10, what would I give Kong here. I'm gonna say he's gonna get a 6 out of 10, which is already quite generous after all the stuff I've said about this figure. It's just, I feel like it could have been a lot better. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying Playmates had a lot of better ways to approach this figure, but unfortunately they chose not to. But a bit too late for that now. One more thing I do want to show you is the scratch on his chest. I've noticed that they do have it for the older Kong, but it's very subtle. So I guess this one maybe be a mark from the skull crawler, but that's a nice little attention to detail there. If I show you from the back, you can see all the screws and all the sockets, which is okay. It's a toy after all. They need it anyways for the articulation to actually work. So I don't blame them one bit for having it. But overall, not the strongest Kong figure. That is definitely the case here. And then there does include a little accessory, and that's just Helicopter, and that's about it. Nothing too special about it. Usually when it comes to these figures, Playmates like to just throw in an extra vehicle or a weapon. This one's okay. It's not a heave or anything. It's just a good old regular military helicopter. Is it anything special? I don't think so whatsoever. I don't think it's special at all. But it's a cool little accessory to have overall. But let me know what you guys think of this Kong. I mean, if you really like it, by all means, fair play. I'm not going to critique you for it. Just for me, this one, I've seen better Kongs, but it's not bad. But let me know in the comments. So as for now, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I guess we'll see you in the next Playmates video. Oh yeah, we're coming back, baby. I got a lot more to show y'all. We'll see you then.